Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kavre, a couple that loves to play board games.
And we like to feed toucans.
I've never fed a toucan in my entire life.
Why not?
I don't know. It's just never been an opportunity for me.
Would you?
I guess.
Now today we're going to be talking about the brand new Takana Builders.
Squawk. Squawk, squawk.
Is that what toucans say?
Probably. Something like that. Takana Builders is designed by Isla Svensson and Christian A. Outsby. It's also published by Aporta Games.
Now in this game, there has been a volcanic eruption and the animals have been scattered across the island. Your goal is to bring them back home.
Bring them back, bring them back.
Let's give you a quick overview of how to play. As always, you'll begin by setting up. Each player gets a player sheet, scoring discs, 6 huts, and a wild card. Each game starts off with a variable setup, using setup cards and starting cards. After setting up the player sheets, you'll shuffle all the tiles face down at the center of the play area, place the terrain cards deck within reach, and you're now ready to play. Takana Builders is played over 2 rounds, with 12 turns in each round. Your goal is to place tiles to lead animals back home to score the most points. Each turn begins with a terrain card being revealed. Once revealed, all players will collect a random tile from the center and place it in the corresponding terrain. You'll notice the path tile quantity at the bottom of your player sheet. Your goal here is to create paths that will help animals get back home. Each animal corresponds to a hut, and toucans in this game are wild and may score multiple times if they head to different homes. During the round, you're also able to use your wild card if you prefer to place the tile you drew on a different terrain type. After the 12th card is drawn and resolved, the round comes to an end. You'll score 1 point per animal that comes home to its corresponding hut. Toucans being wild will also score 1 point per connection. You don't get any benefits for connecting huts, but it may be beneficial to do so as each hut will score the animals, meaning your animals heading to those huts will score twice. After you've scored, you'll flip back your wild card, shuffle the terrain cards, and play an additional round. After the last terrain card is drawn in the second round and the paths are scored, the game comes to an end. You'll write down the score for each track on the score sheet and score your lowest track once more. You'll tally the points, and the player with the most wins. For an advanced variant, try playing with achievement cards. You'll draw 2 random achievement cards at the start of the game that showcase objectives. You'll race to be the first to achieve the objective, as if you are, you'll get a higher point value. And that's Takana Builders. Will you bring all the animals back home?
So, what did you think?
Well, this is actually the first game that I know that is a board game re-implementation of a roll and write, the Trails of Takana.
Yeah.
Because usually it's the other way. Usually there's a board game and there's a roll and write version, but this time it did Twist-a-Roonies.
Yep. Yeah. Now there are plenty of games that we've played that are roll and writes that we have not played the board game version of, but this is the first time that, well, we played the roll and write version first, and it was actually the first version of the game.
And although the theme is really similar, I feel like the games are quite different. Like, you're still trying to build island connections, but the way that you did it, I feel, is very different.
Yeah.
So I think when my first impression for this game is I was expecting a really similar experience, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was quite different, and there's definitely a lot of things that I think the board game did better than the roll and write.
I thought the board game was very, very similar. The only thing that felt different for me for this was like the almost, I want to say, autonomy of taking the tiles, but you always had to do the same thing when you did Trails of Takana, the roll and write, or flip and write. But this one is like you were just like grabbing from a pile and everybody only had to place on the same space.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you drew. That felt like there was a bit of difference going on, and it felt nice.
Yeah, the autonomy definitely felt a little bit more out there. But now let's get into some of the standouts and why you may want to check out Takana Builders.
Well, I think the first one for me is like any tile builder or route builder where you're placing on a board that slowly and slowly gets more restrictive. the game gets progressively harder on the brain, and you're really kind of just like hoping you draw the right tiles to be able to place them in the right spot, to be able to make your routes work so perfectly. And of course, sometimes that doesn't work, but it's a lot of fun because you expect that as part of this game.
Mm-hmm. And there's still a wild card every one of the 2 rounds you can use to help with your train.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets very exciting in that moment when you do draw the perfect tile that just lines up, creates those connections, helps all those animals get home, and gives you a lot of points.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is like a familiar piece that comes over from the flip and right is there's round 1 and 2 scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I like to say it is as like an intermediate scoring right at the middle of the game, where you can almost like try to strategize whether or not you want to heavy end that, or you can score lightly so that you can more optimize your paths later on and hope that you get a lot more points at the end of the game. So there's like this give and take. It's this nice risk and reward sometimes that it pays off, and the ability to be able to work your strategy around that is kind of nice.
And I do like it because it almost encourages you to make those connections early on. Because I'm the type of player who loves having that grand connection to build it up at the very end, put it in. Mm-hmm. But you obviously don't want to do that because then you won't score those points in the intermediary. So it almost encourages you to not take too many risks.
Yeah.
But set stuff up so you can still have that big reward at the end of the game, which I really like too.
Yeah, it's definitely this balancing act, which is always fun, and definitely a lot of reasons, or a big reason why somebody might want to check this game out.
And I think the last thing I'll mention too is this game plays fairly quick. There's 2 rounds, 12 turns each, and each turn you're placing a tile. So it goes pretty quickly. It's a game that you'll want to come back. And there's also that variable scoring as well. Mm-hmm. So, or not variable, the achievements.
Yeah.
So you can draw random achievements and go for certain things and race for them as well. And everybody loves to race for points.
Yes, yeah.
Mostly everybody.
And I mean, obviously, like the varying like buildings where they're placed is always nice to like your paths switch up kind of thing. And they intersect differently, and it's always fun to be able to try and manage around that.
Yeah, different setup, different variability. It leaves those tiles coming out quite fresh.
Exactly. But those are reasons why people might want to check it out. Why might people not want to check this one out?
Well, because you're drawing from a pool of tiles and you never quite know what you're going to get. You may not have a good time because maybe you keep drawing the exact same tiles that are very similar. There is a distribution. Typically, you follow that distribution, but statistics doesn't always mean it's going to be equal. So you could not have a pleasant experience and not get the tiles you want. So if you're a person who loves everything to be perfect and just waits for that perfection to come to fruition at the end of the game, this game may not be for you.
Yeah. And even on top of that, because it's a 5-player game at a higher player count, you'll see more tiles come up, and you might get yourself like excited to be able to maybe draw some of those tiles that haven't been drawn based on what's been coming up for everybody else. But at a 2-player game, it's almost a little more secretive what might be coming up because there's more tiles in the pool, and you're always picking from the exact same number, right? Yeah, always picking from the same number of tiles, but then less show up. So you're unsure. The odds of picking up the most common tile happens more than you would like.
And if you're not the type of player who likes to build those strategic paths, be really spatially aware of what you need, how things can work out. If that's not your forte, that's not what you like in games, this game will definitely not be for you because a lot of it is that spatial puzzle of how can things work the best way possible for me to score the most points.
Yes. Yep. Other than that, this is a pretty light game in terms of the mechanics and how it actually flows. It is one of those games that is quite replayable, but at the core of it, because it's got that simple task of just route building, if you're looking for something more crunchier, then this game might not be for you.
Well, overall, what do we think of Tucana Builders?
I would place it where I would place Trails of Tucana. And it's nothing like, it's not amazing. It was fun for me. I think I compare it almost to like a Karuba or any other tile filler, such as like Savannah Park or Caldera Park. So if you like those types of games, I think Trail or Tucana Builder is great for you. But those, in my opinion, were just games I would play over this one.
Oh.
Yes. However, it is a lot of fun. I think the route building is interesting. I think the dynamic of like making your routes, especially with the wild toucans, can really help you score a lot of points. And managing that has been a lot of fun to be able to play through, especially when you play with like the racing achievements. And yeah.
I think for me, I definitely liked it more than you did. But these are my type of games. I really enjoy games with that puzzle in the beginning. Everything seems like it's going really well, and then all of a sudden everything is on fire and you can't get it to work. And this game really embodies that feeling because you can be really optimistic and figure out, this time I'm going to get the most points. I've drawn a couple of tiles. I'm going to set some stuff up. And then you can just never draw the tile that you need to create that ultimate connection.
Yeah.
And I like that brain burn. I think it's really exciting. Mainly because the one time that it does work, it feels so good. And this game definitely has moments for that. And the other thing I really like about it too is that it's really easy to teach. It's a game that you set up, everything is, you put all the little tokens, people can tactile touch everything and help set everything up. And then you're essentially drawing your tile and placing it, and that's the core of the game. There's a couple of objectives you go for, but a lot of the game is really focused on your own board and trying to get those animals back home. Yeah. So it's a great introduction to people who haven't played too many board games as well.
Yeah, this game is very accessible, it's fun for what it is, and I enjoyed the few times that we've been able to play it.
Now for our question of the day today.
What is it?
What animal would you like to feed that is in the wild? Are you the type of person who, if the sign says do not feed the pigeons, and then you feed the pigeons?
I wouldn't feed any animals. I don't think they need to be fed.
What if they're hungry?
No.
Well, which animal would you like to play with in the
Not
wild?
wild animals. What kind of silly question is that? Otters, obviously.
Would you roll around in the grass?
Water. I would roll around in the water.
You do a little swim trip?
Probably.
That'd be cute. I think I would like to feed anteaters. I would help them find the trail of ants and just place them there, and then they would follow the trail.
See, that's a clever way to feed them. Don't give them like mini eggs or
why would you give them
or
mini
like Ritz
eggs?
crackers or something like that.
Oh no, I would help them find their natural food source.
Okay, that's better. That's better.
Well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed our video,
give us that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you're new here, because we make weekly board game content and we love chatting about board games with you.
You especially. Well, if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about Takana Builders, get in that description down below. We will hope to see you next time in our next video.
Exactly. But until then, bye!